Hello and welcome back to another episode of Show Me the Aiki, where we break down some techniques and principles from some existing video footage. In this case, we have Ueshiba Sensei on the rooftop doing some demonstration, and he looks like a mix of some guys that are not his students that are interested in what he's doing, and he's has one of his students in here, and he's doing kind of a Kokyu type technique. So we'll push it through here, and basically he's kind of like a Sokomani Riminage or a Sayunage or a Kokyunage, depending on what your lineage is, from a two-handed grab on, two people, two-handed grabs. And in this case, again, as we've said before, sometimes you have a little advantage if you have two people, because it kind of changes the dynamic. So we're going to break it down. Okay, so I'm going to break this breakdown into two parts. And the first part's going to be the mechanics of what Ueshiba is doing with his body. And then the second part is going to be some kind of external factors that may be contributing to why the technique is working, based on the setup, on how the people are configured, how they're grabbing, etc. So with the first part, we'll stop it here. And we're basically looking at, again, two-handed grabs, two people grabbing with two hands. So Ueshiba starts here in kind of basically a neutral position, with this, straight up and down like we want to be. And he's kind of levering his hand on his leg. So this is providing a stable point of contact for him to use a connected body. So it may seem, inconsequential, but this is part of what's helping him anchor and provide a solid leverage, because we want to have a extension in multiple directions. So in this case, obviously, we have extension down into the foot. We're going to have extension up into the head. We have extension, not yet at this point here. This hasn't happened yet. But again, this point here is going to provide extension to lever his shoulder girdle. So it's almost like I wouldn't call it a trick or a cheat, but it's an important use of the body in order to create more leverage. And as we move it through, we'll go about 50% here. He's bowing by bending the legs. So that's an important part. So we have, bow, bow, bow. He's going to make a bow here. So a lot of bowing that can then be compressed. That power can be compressed, and then it's going to be released as the bows move. Now, as he gets to about here, he's extended the legs. He's released the bow. So we have release bow, release bow, release bow. And then we're into this point where this arm is extending. That's going to be, directing the force. And the bows that we didn't address yet are these ones here. And again, what are called the kwa or the soke. Sorry, this is not for the hand. This one is for the inguinal crease here. I guess I can use that. So those bows have extended it well, and he's maintaining that extension, that fullness through there, in order to, again, provide stability in the body and create leverage. And once he gets to the end here, then he just kind of directs and turns the hip in, continues rotating, pushing off the foot, in order to, again, direct the force. He's not creating force necessarily here, but he's just directing it in that area. And boom, down they go. Now, obviously, one person can take ukemi a little bit better than the other person, who basically just, again, we're going to address why that person fell that way in a second, but it kind of worked out better for his student than it did for the spectator in this case. So we'll run it through one more time. After they're set up, then again, there's a big bowing, storing releasing and directing of force in this case. Now, he really mostly just does the throw to about here. At that point, he starts to kind of lose a little bit of stability because he's being kind of pulled a little bit in that direction by their force, and he's not actually making any force past about here. That's all just kind of, he's just letting it go at that point and following along. So that's mostly the mechanics of how that's working, and the bowing is important. The bowing and the creation of stability through the hip girdle there. Now the second part again is how this setup contributes to the success of this throw. So as you'll see here, his student is grabbing at around his wrist area, here and here. The volunteer, which you'll note is already bending over, he's already compromised as far as his integrity at this point, is grabbing a little bit farther up on the arm, around closer to the elbow, because there's no room because one person already has their hands on him. So that's already an advantage that he's set up for himself. And you'll also see, in order to fit in here, his students, and chime in if you know who this is. I'm not familiar with him, the student, but his shoulder's already up, you know. So there's a lot of kind of, I guess, setup, for lack of a better word, in favor of making this technique work for Ueshiba. So there's a lot of compromises made in order to create this setup, which is, you know, you're rarely going to see two guys grabbing another guy. You know, you normally to be one guy on each side of the arm. And so as we move through here, he's basically getting ready to go. And again, just by dropping down, he's already, again, this is compromised balance, this more compromised balance on here. The shoulder's way jacked up at this point. They're basically ready to go, and he didn't even do anything, which is helpful. And then as we move through, you can see he's throwing, and we have Kazushi up, toes are up on this case. He's basically just throwing this guy here. And what's happening as a result of that, because this guy's moving and he's basically on top of this other guy, he really can't help but be thrown, the second guy, because he's basically got another guy on top of him. And the only thing he can do at this point is kind of turn out to avoid getting trampled and taking, again, what looks like a very poor ukemi. So it's a really good setup here in favor of making a really impressive looking throw, but ultimately not much happening. You know, obviously, well, excuse me, there's a lot happening inside here for this guy, but he doesn't have to do much in order to make it work, is the benefit. And that's it. That's our look at this Kokyunage technique from Ueshiba. As always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up in Facebook or YouTube. Like the video, subscribe if you want to get updates about future videos, and please contribute to the commentary and discussion, either on YouTube or in Facebook, so we can learn something from this together as a community. And that's it. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.